Hello everyone. So the next topic which we will be going to discuss about is about the seed dormancy. So in these slides we will be discussing about what is seed dormancy, how a seed dormancy play a role in the germination of the seed, then what are the types of seed dormancy. There are two types of seed dormancy which is being depicted in these slides, and all these things we will be discussing in these slides in detail. So let's get started with the first slide of the introduction part. So introduction. Introduction starts with the seed. That what is a seed? Seed is defined as a mature fertilized ovule that possesses an embryo, stored material in the form of cotyledons or endosperm, and a protective seed coat. So this is the definition of the seed. So in this figure basically what we are depicting is there is a seed development. First there is a pollination step. There are different types of pollination. So when the pollination step is being done, then there is a seed development. Once the pollination has been done, then there will be a seed development. After the seed development, once the seed is being developed, or once a mature fertilized ovule that contains an embryo or stored material in them, they mature to form a seed. They mature to a seed. Seed maturation takes place. After the seed is being matured, it comes to the seed dormancy state. Seed dormancy is basically the inactive state of the seed. Then after the seed dormancy, it will lead to the germination, and after germination it will lead to a plant growth and the plant maturation. The plants will grow according to the nutrients and the water and the soil. According to the soil, it will grow into a plant and it will mature like a plant. So this was about the seed dormancy. So how a seed dormancy is an important step in this, and how a seed dormancy plays a role in the plant maturation, we will be discussing this in detail in these slides only. Next is about the seed dormancy. So the seed dormancy has been derived from a Latin word which means to sleep. So the meaning of seed dormancy is basically that it is in the inactive state. So the Latin word from which it has been derived is to sleep. So failure of an intact viable seed to complete the germination even under the favorable condition is the seed dormancy. A dormant seed does not have the capacity to germinate in a specified period of time under normal physical environmental conditions. So when we talk about a dormant seed, it does not have the capacity to germinate in a specified environment under the normal physical environmental factors. So seed dormancy basically introduces a temporal delay in the germination process. So the delay in the process is because of the seed dormancy, because it is the inactive state of the seed. So the maximizes seedling survival by preventing the germination under favorable condition. So it maximizes the seedling survival. The survival of the seed is basically the process of seed dormancy, in which it is preventing the germination under unfavorable conditions. Next is about the significance of the seed dormancy, that why we are focusing such is why we are more and more focusing on the seed dormancy. It is because the seed dormancy enables the plant to overcome a period of unfavorable environmental conditions, thus providing the plant with the mechanism for survival. So basically it is an inactive state, but it is the process in which the plant will remain in the survival stage for a long time. The seed will remain in the survival stage, and when the appropriate conditions and when the appropriate environment will be there, the seed will comes to overcame the seed dormancy stage, and it will germinate accordingly. So in temperate zones, basically where temperature falls below the freezing point in winters, most plants could not survive in the vegetative or flowering state. So they do not survive in the cold stage or in the cold temperature which is below the freezing point, which is not appropriate condition for the plant to grow. So thus the plant seeds and buds become dormant. So the plants and seeds become dormant because that temperate zone, that temperature is not good for the plant to grow. So the dormancy begins at the onset of winter cold, allowing the plant to pass the winter with a little or no damage. So that seed will be in a dormant stage, and it will not allow the plant to pass the winter, so it will not damage the plant or the seed. So this in this, basically the dormancy comes into the picture. So it will make the plant survive for a long time, for a time when the temperature will be normal and when it will be favorable for the plant to grow. So moisture is a precondition for the germination of the seeds, and seeds of the plants growing in arid regions remains dormant until a sufficient amount of time water is available. So for example, in arid regions, the seeds will remain dormant because there until a sufficient amount of water is available. When the sufficient amount of water is available, when the sufficient amount of nutrients uh, which is needed for this plant to grow, when that is available, the plant will come out from the dormant stage and will comes into the germination stage, and there will be a plant growth and the plant maturation. So this was about the significance of the dormancy, seed dormancy. Then what are the types of seed dormancy? There is a coat imposed dormancy and embryo dormancy. So these are the two types of dormancies. So we will be discussing each of these dormancy in detail in the next slide. So first we will go with the coat imposed seed dormancy. Seed coat plays a vital role in the life cycle of the plant by controlling the development of the embryo and determining seed dormancy and germination. So this is named coat imposed dormancy because of the word seed coat, because seed coat plays a vital role in the life cycle of the plant. So it basically helps in the development of the embryo and also determining the seed dormancy and the germination. Just after the seed dormancy is the step of germination, so that's why we have written the seed dormancy and the germination after that. So coat imposed dormancy imposed on the embryo by the seed coat. So it has been imposed on the embryo by the seed coat. So there are 5 basic mechanisms by which coat imposed dormancy can be done. It is the prevention of water uptake. Prevention of water uptake can be first mechanism, then mechanical constraint, then interference with the gas exchange, then retention of inhibitors and inhibitor production. So there are 5 mechanisms of coat imposed dormancy. Next comes the limitations. That what are the limitations? Sacrification, it is the removal, and germination can be accelerated by mechanically removing the seed coat. So the term sacrification is basically the removal, and germination which can be accelerated by mechanically removing the seed coat. So when the seed coat is being removed, so this process is called the sacrification, and this is the limitation of the coat imposed dormancy. Then comes the embryo dormancy. Embryo themselves are dormant and are not due to the influence of the seed coat. So in the last slide we have discussed that seed coat, the coat imposed dormancy is because of the embryo is after embryo is present, and then the seed coat is present, but in this embryo themselves are dormant, so they don't need any dormancy from the seed coat. So they are themselves dormant, and due to the presence of inhibitors, especially ABA, as well as the absence of growth promoters such as glyburate acid. So because of the presence of some of the inhibitors, ABA, as well as absence of the growth promoter such as glyceric acid, the loss of embryo dormancy is often obtained with a sharp drop in the ratio of ABA to glyceric acid. So this is the loss of embryo dormancy, basically associated with the sharp drop in the ratio of ABA to glyceric acid, that is the hormone. Then next comes is the seed dormancy. Seed dormancies can be distinguished on the basis of the timing and the onset of the dormancy, and they can be divided into 2 parts. that is primary dormancy and the secondary dormancy. So we will be discussing both these dormancy in detail in the next slides. Primary dormancy: the seeds that are released from the plant in a dormant stage are said to exhibit a primary dormancy. So what is primary dormancy? The seeds that are released from the plants in a dormant state. The seeds that are released from a plant in a dormant state are said to exhibit a primary dormancy. Then about the secondary dormancy: the seeds that are released from the plant in a non-dormant state but that become dormant if the conditions for germination are unfavorable, then it comes the secondary dormancy. So this was about the primary dormancy and the secondary dormancy. So this was all about the chapter about of the seed dormancy, that what are the types of seed dormancies and all these things. So these are some of the references from which I have taken the matter and made the slides. Thank you.